Ahoy! Some of you may remember Prophecy, which was essentially an auto chess game based on SMITE characters that was made by HiRez, or rather by the sub-studio Prophecy Games, a while ago. That project has since been scrapped, and Prophecy Games itself is also no longer directly part of HiRez. Instead, in early 2020 they became fully independent. However, they still exist, and they are working on a new game, which is spearheaded by a name that may be familiar to many, which is BlueOrc or Erez, or once upon a time, HiRez Erez. Erez is the founder of HiRez Studios and was once upon a time very much on the forefront of the decision making, but has since moved more into a behind the scenes kind of position. This new project, however, seems to be much more heavily influenced by him because it's outside of the realms of HiRez Studios now. And that also shows in the design and the inspiration for the game. The first posts of character models that we've seen so far are a very clear nod to both Global Agenda and Tribes Ascend, which are the first games that HiRez Studios made and the ones where Erez was probably still very involved in the design process. And it's also pretty known that Erez generally prefers shooters. Erez stated on his Twitter that the game is inspired by Global Agenda, Tribes, but also Apex Legends, Escape from Tarkov, Paladins, Diablo, Destiny, and Realm Royale. I don't quite know how to take this, to be honest, because it's basically inspired by every shooter-based HiRez game and then a bunch of other popular games, and then some looter game. And the looter game aspect here is because this is a looter shooter. But we also can see already from one of the screenshots that it's a multiplayer game of some sort, so it seems to lean more heavily into the Destiny direction from what I can tell. What we don't know is what the combat will look like, and obviously because there are so many different games listed as inspirations, it's also very hard to tell which direction this will go in. For example, the inspiration listed here being Tribes Ascend could be the visual part, which you can kinda see, or especially Global Agenda as well, or it could be the combat aspect, which I think is more interesting for a lot of people. So, super hard to say where this is going. Now, I think this looks interesting so far, but I will say that there is a huge asterisk coming with this as well, and that is Erez involvement. Erez going more into the background of HiRez was likely not purely his decision. There were multiple things in HiRez history that he was likely involved with, which a lot of people don't look upon too fondly. One of those things, as far as I'm aware, is Paladin's OB64 patch, which generally caused a lot of frustration for most Paladins players for a very long time, until what was changed in that patch was mostly reverted. If you want to know more about that, I will link a video I made about that back then here. But he was, for example, also watching a ton of Realm Royale streamers and implementing their suggestions into the game, which didn't exactly do the game any favors because a lot of the people that he was watching were just the typical shooter players that switched back to their other game a few days later anyways. And that led to things like the fast-firing semi-auto weapons. So a lot of people weren't really happy with the direction that Realm Royale took because of that as well. It is obviously extremely hard to say how much influence he had on other things or how deeply involved with the things he really was, but the general outward appearance was that there was at least a decent amount of responsibility and decision-making in Erez's hands at the time. We don't really know what that means for the new game though, because it is a completely different company where he's basically in a space where he can decide much more freely what direction he wants to take a game in, and that may be for the best in the long run. But so far we are also really lacking information about what will make this game unique, because looter shooters are not exactly an unpopular genre or a genre that doesn't have a lot of games yet. So there has to be some specific niche where this could fit into. If we see a looter shooter that, for example, heavily focuses on the PvP element as well and has a lot of the aspects that Tribes had, then I could see especially some Tribes fans coming back to that as well. But it's all in the stars for now. I will keep an eye on this. I will see where it goes, wait patiently, but for now you know what's out there basically. With that, thank you very much for watching. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing and clicking the bell so you're updated for other news on SMITE related and HiRez related things. Hope to see you for the next one soon. SLOTH, out.